sockets. I gotta get new
It
ones.
says Colson.
I'm just kidding.
You're not credentialed. So you
They know me.
All right, what do we got?
Questions? You want me to just talk or what? My voice is gone.
What do you like about the team so far?
I think the biggest thing that jumped out even in the summer is just how the depth has allowed us to be much more competitive just in practice. And we're still down a couple, 2 or 3 bodies there, which we know this. We've got coming back from protocol. So that's the biggest thing. I think the depth has increased the level of competition, which has made practices much more intense.
What do you like about what AJ can bring in terms of depth, scoring, all that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the athletic ability is noticeable as soon as you walk in the gym, but there's been a lot of learning, and I think even starting Monday, when we really started implementing defensive concepts and rules and system, that's where I kind of forewarned him back in June and July that, the fall would be a little bit different, and he's been awesome. He's really coachable, he's like a sponge, he's asked the right questions, he wants to get better, and as I've told him many times, that's why you're here. That's why you chose Wisconsin, because of the things that we can help you with to really, round out his game even more.
Greg, one of the guys doesn't get talked about a lot is Blackwell. That freshman class. What have you seen from him, and what do you think he might be able to give you in the first year?
Yeah, I think the thing that with John is he competes. He battles, and we saw that this summer. I think he's more physically ready than I thought he would be. Watching him in AAU in high school. So he's obviously committed himself before he even got here to the weight room. But the thing is, there's going to be mistakes, as there is with all young players. They're still learning. But with him, the competitiveness in him allows him to maybe erase some of those things while he's figuring out, the how-tos and the whys and those things. But again, another example of a guy that just wants to find ways to help our team. He doesn't care what role it is, and he makes us better. He's pushed guys in practice starting back when they got here in June.
Gus was obviously working on the side. What's going on with him?
Yeah, he's in return to play protocol, so he should be back here soon. I would expect more tomorrow, and then as we go into next week, get back to normal.
On the incoming freshman, what have you seen from Nolan and his potential readiness for year one?
Yeah, probably more ready than I thought. And at 7 feet, and the way he moves, how skilled he is. I think this week is obviously a challenge for all young players or all new players because of everything with what we demand defensively. But he's been, again, 7 feet. You can't teach that. So, and the way he can move and run the floor, what things are probably reverting back to more what I saw in the summer and in the fall offensively. And then this week has been a lot of learning, a lot of installing. We've thrown a lot at him, and again, all 3 of them I think have handled it really well in terms of the freshmen. But he competes. He's got to get stronger, and that's a development thing over the course of his career. But how he battles, he's got an edge to him that I didn't realize he really. I watched him a lot. We watched him a lot through the retreating process. But when you're up with him every day up close, he's got a little chip on his shoulder, and he's got a little meanness to him that I didn't realize he had, which is good. Sometimes big guys, you got to kind of encourage them to stick their nose in, and not with him.
Obviously Chucky looks a little bit different. Right. Slowed down a little bit. Was that something he wanted to do? Was that something that was suggested to him?
Both. I think it's something that's a natural, very good progression that players find what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And I think for him, he knows he can be faster, more explosive, endurance, all those things. And that was part of finding the right happy weight, body percentage, whatever it was that he wanted to adjust. And this isn't just started this year. He's been working on this. He really has changed his eating habits immensely. Even going back to well into last year, before last year, just watching him and how disciplined he's been. So it's taken time. This just didn't happen overnight. This has been a constant, plan of his over the last probably 12 to 18 months.
I don't know if you should read too much into, positional grouping and that type of stuff, but Tyler was working with, some players seemed like they're going to be playing on the wing. I guess, right. Is he switching off? Is he going from center forward? That
kind of more to balance the groups, And each day I see who's available for practice, and I reshuffle the groups. So there's days when he's at the wings, and there's days he's at the post. But the versatility with him, I think allows him to do both.
You mentioned the depth, allowing guys to compete in practice, like the team once you get into games, is there a hard number that you like to use, or do you care? You just like the flexibility?
I like the flexibility, and it's really, for me to give you a number, I'd be pulling a number out of the air, because I don't know how they're going to continue to develop and grow and respond, whether they've been here for 5 years or been here for 5 months. So we're going to learn as we go.
I guess
But
I meant historically, like for.
Yeah, I mean, it's
once you get to a
historically,
certain number.
yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to have 10 that you can go to consistently. Now, some nights it might be 8.5. Some nights it might be 11.
Based on matchups.
Based on matchups, based on who's playing well. And I think that's what we have to figure out as coaches, and that's good. That the players are making it hard on us. I'm going to have some hard decisions with our staff in terms of who's going to get the first opportunity. But I think this group is really connected. They want this team to be successful, and obviously we've got some alpha dogs in the room that have been here and done that and have been part of really successful teams. They're leading the charge, but the nice thing about having young guys that have come in and hit the ground running is that raises the bar. They're not playing a lot of catch up. They're competing, and I think all those guys can. I don't think anybody's been ruled out, so to speak, that could be in that mix. So I said when we're a long ways from that yet. We have a hard time guarding ourselves right now, so we'll, which is good. It gives us something. I have no shortage of things to practice as we work through the weeks.
Was it even a question if Tyler was coming back, or did he know he wanted to?
I gave him space, I think, back in April, and I think the one common thing that came with Tyler is that I talked to him about. There's been no player in Wisconsin basketball history that's won 3 Big Ten championships, and he has a chance to be the only player in school history to do that. So I said, Tyler, really, as he boiled everything else out, and, graduate degree and finishing up his undergrad and professional opportunities overseas, or does he try to, work something with a, two-way or anything like that? It just, Tyler, there's one way you can be that only player to win 3 Big Ten championships. Then that means you have to come back. And I think when he really let the dust settle and just the emotion of the season, of his injury and everything that he had gone through, and he was able to kind of clear his mind, I think he came to the realization that this is really good here, and I want to make a run at it in a 3rd title.
It's no secret that last season ended in a disappointing fashion, and not getting to the NCAAs.
Right.
When you first brought the guys back together after having had time off, what did you see from them between the years about how last year ended and how just everything they went through last year? How it affected them?
Yeah, I think that it's helped us in terms of they understood that for them to get through that and still win 20 games and get to it, that they had to have a lot of perseverance, because they got knocked to the mat a lot, and they could have just stayed on the mat, but they kept getting up. And I've gone back through all the games. I mean, we had 23 games that came down to the last 4 minutes. We go 13-10 in those games. So if you go 14-9, and it's the 14th one is the right one, you're probably in the mix on Selection Sunday. If you make it, 15-8, you are. So the margin for error, we know, is very slim, but I think that helped put them in a mindset like, you know what, we're not real far away, but it's also, we understand where the standards are and what their expectations are. They have really high expectations of what they feel this team can do, and I do too. I really like this group, but we got a lot of work to do, and you got to play the games, you got to stay healthy, and all those things that go with it. But I think this group wanted to come back, and knowing that very rarely do you get a chance to have everybody back. We had no seniors walk out the door. So in today's world, retention, and if you can retain, the core of what you have and build upon what they went through last year, I think that's a challenge that didn't exist 5 years ago in terms of the retention ability. So to have these guys all committed to want to come back and do that for each other, I think speaks volumes to where their minds are. And I know what their expectations are. They're high. They'll never be higher on the outside than they are on the inside. And this group wants to chase more titles.
You mentioned the margin of error thing a lot last year, just the amount of close games. Is there something you guys are working on this year to kind of increase that? Do you think it's just depth is the key, and more guys you can trust off the bench, or is there another area where you see, okay, if we do this, we don't have to bring our A game every night to win?
Well, I think it's so competitive. College basketball, the parity level is so consistent across the board that you better bring your A game most nights. And have you seen our schedule? Yeah, we might have to bring our AA game some nights. But I think there's a lot of things that go into it, Evan. I mean, finishing has been one word that I've talked about a lot, and I didn't copy Luke of what he's talked about. It's been everything that we've gone through. Like I mentioned, those 23 games where we had, leads in 8 of them in those two, and lost 8 games where we had the lead in the last 4 minutes. So just those things, getting the foul line more, converting at the foul line more, getting a defensive stop in a crucial situation. Depth is a part of that over the course of a season, over 35 games. Yeah, you can be deeper, you can maybe be fresher in the last 4 minutes of a game in late February. So I don't think there's one specific thing. And then guys getting better. And everybody talks about the 3 freshmen and AJ Storr coming in, but the guys that came back have taken another step in their game. Their bodies, whether they've got bigger, smaller, whatever the case may be, they've all come back and have gotten better.
Speaking of AJ Storr, where do you see him fitting into your rotation, at least early?
He's part of the 18 guys in practice most days right now. So I've mixed, every day's been different. I've mixed him around in the summer. For him, it's just been trying to learn as fast as possible. So I haven't even thought about going into rotations. Just, trying to install, trying to help teach and have those guys learn. And then as we go through, and players will decide who gets the minutes by who produces over the course of time in practice. So I think for AJ right now, he's, every day is another step and learning. Today is the first day he's gone through our technique of chasing staggered screens and guarding off the ball and some of those things that may seem very elementary to somebody that's been here for 3-4 years, but for him and freshmen, and I consider him in some regards a freshman in terms of technique here, terminology here, everything for him that he's going through here is a first, even though he's got a year under his belt. It's different in almost every single way.
Speaking of some of those returners adding to their games, where have you seen some progression from Connor so far? I know it's early, but just overall.
I think a little more confident, and I think going through, and it's not only the things that he did really well a year ago, it's where he struggled, that he knew he had to get stronger. He knew he had to get more durable physically, and he's been able to do that, and I think that'll allow him to be better on the defensive end of the floor, play for longer stretches of the game. And I think at the end of the year, he was a freshman that played in a lot of games, so just getting that experience has helped him prepare better in the off season and much more confident. I think now he understands. He knows when something doesn't go right and he has a miscue, he knows exactly what it is. So that's where experience is a great teacher.
You alluded to the schedule. I mean, do difficult non-conference schedules like that just kind of fall into place, or do you build those with a purpose? I guess. Or?
Both. I think some of it was intentional. Some of it was, the Gavitt Cup. We never know who we're going to get. Obviously, in the event in Florida, we knew the other 3 teams. We didn't know until TV did their really matchings of who they wanted based on the windows that they have for TV. So some of that, Arizona kind of came about late. I talked to Tommy a lot about trying to do a series, and it probably happened faster than we thought it would, just because we felt we needed another home game next year. ACC challenge went away, so we don't have any more Power 5 games than we had before. We had 6 last year. Dayton, Kansas, USC, down in the Bahamas. Obviously, there were 3 neutrals. We just have, there's 2 neutrals, 2 homes, 2 roads this year. So it's dispersed differently, but it's still the same number in terms of. And there's Arkansas State, and I was in Stevens Point last night doing a GAC event. The Pointers, they're going to be Northern Iowa in a scrimmage. So the Red's going to try to beat the White on October 15th. So we're a long ways from when we hit that gauntlet. But that's what these guys want. I've watched the reactions of them when it got unveiled on social media, and I think they tell me our league's going to be really good again too. So for the 24th year in a row, there's no cupcakes.
With as much experience as you have, how do you look to improve as a coach season by season, and what do you do, if anything, this offseason?
I think you always dig deep and evaluate, and specifically how the game has changed offensively. You're constantly evolving, not only with the trends of the game, but how your personnel changes, how the strengths of your personnel change from year to year. So but at the same time, the more things change, the more things stay the same. The emphasis of taking care of the ball, that won't change. You look at things spacing wise and who's good in different actions on the floor. still want to get to the free throw line, so the ball's got to go inside, or we got to drive it. So it's not. I don't think you try to overcook it, so to speak, or overanalyze it. I've always said the game is overcoached and undertaught. So a lot of this summer was on teaching. It was fall. Our staff did a great job with the individuals. We've changed some things with the individuals. We're changing some things here with practice, with skill work. We're actually doing some next week starting during the day, so I'll just give 2-a-days to a degree. So it's, I think you're constantly looking for ways to improve, and even having Kirk around, just picking his brain, because he's played at all levels, and bringing a lot of European influence into what we're looking at offensively. And I think you see trends in games on utilization of the three, spacing, transition, all those things. You look at how it fits you best, and then what this team is best at. You try to mold it. Defensively, we're relatively the same. There's a few minor tweaks here or there, but by and large, what it takes to win in this league, we understand and have for a while. But offensively, it's an evolution that you're constantly trying to improve upon.
Good?
All good?
Thank
All right,
you.
you bet. Thank you.
Appreciate it.